Beneath the surface of Dragon Ball lies a world most fans never explore, a universe of hidden details, forgotten moments, and quiet revelations that stretch back decades. The franchise carries secrets in every frame, in every decision made by its creators, in every character who faded from memory. Before you drift into sleep, you're welcome to subscribe for more calm Dragon Ball stories. And if you feel like it, tell me where you're listening from tonight. As we begin our descent through layers of mystery few have traveled, starting with the most familiar truths before sinking deeper into the unknown. The story of Dragon Ball begins not with a single work, but with 4 distinct anime series that shaped generations. The original Dragon Ball followed a young boy's journey from wilderness to tournament champion, his pole in hand and his heart pure. Then came Dragon Ball Z, where that same boy grew into the universe's defender, facing threats that escalated from princes to emperors to demons made of magic itself. The third series, Dragon Ball GT, ventured into territory the manga never charted, giving us crimson-furred transformations and journeys across galaxies in search of scattered wishes. Finally, Dragon Ball Super returned years later, continuing stories through tournaments between universes and battles against gods who barely understood mortality. Each series carried its own rhythm, its own sense of what Dragon Ball could become. The original manga ran from 1984 to 1995, serialized weekly in Shonen Jump, its pages filled with Akira Toriyama's distinctive art. The anime adaptations followed, sometimes expanding moments into entire episodes, sometimes rushing through battles in minutes. Together, they created something larger than any single version, a mythology that lived in multiple forms, each one shaping how millions understood the story of Son Goku and his endless capacity for growth. The question of who would win in battle has haunted Dragon Ball fans for decades, but perhaps no debate has burned longer than Goku versus Superman. These two characters share more than casual observers might notice. Both were sent away from doomed worlds as infants, both raised by kind-hearted people who found them in rural settings, both growing into protectors of their adopted homes. The comparison became inevitable once Dragon Ball reached Western shores, where Superman had stood as the definitive fictional hero for generations. The debate escalated beyond message boards into official territory when Death Battle featured the matchup not once but twice, each time sparking fresh arguments about what strength truly means. Epic rap battles of history gave them microphones instead of fists, letting them trade verses about their accomplishments. The conversation revealed something about how fans engage with their heroes. It was never really about who would win, but about what these characters represented, what they meant to the people who grew up watching them face impossible odds and somehow survive. Perhaps it speaks to a fundamental human need, this desire to rank and compare and measure, to find some objective truth in stories designed to inspire rather than calculate. The debate continues even now, decades later, though most participants have learned to smile at the absurdity. These characters exist to give us hope, not to settle imaginary contests. Still, the arguments persist, a strange form of respect paid through endless hypothetical combat. For years, a certain game's absence defined what Dragon Ball fans wanted most. Budokai Tenkaichi 3 had captured something special when it released in 2007, a sense of scale, of aerial combat, of transformations that actually mattered. Players could select from over 150 characters, each with distinct movesets, each animated with care. The game became legendary not just for its roster, but for how it made you feel like you were actually in a Dragon Ball battle, the camera spinning wildly as you teleported behind your opponent or charged a desperate final attack. The demand for a fourth entry never stopped. Modders kept the game alive, creating their own versions of Tenkaichi 4 with new characters, new stages, new possibilities. Then, in a moment that broke the internet, Bandai Namco finally announced Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, the spiritual successor fans had begged for. Twitter and YouTube exploded with reactions, grown adults weeping openly at a trailer that promised the return of a cherished experience. Sometimes a game becomes more than entertainment. It becomes a time capsule of joy, and its return feels like coming home. Hidden in Gogeta's design rests a detail that fans discovered only by looking closely at that fused warrior's symmetry. If you split his face down the middle, one half reveals Vegeta's features while the other shows Goku's. The left eye carries Vegeta's sharper gaze, the right Goku's softer expression. It's a small touch, something the animators included knowing most viewers would never consciously notice, but it speaks to the care taken in designing this fusion. The discovery spread through fan communities as people examined screenshots, overlaying halves of his face to confirm what seemed impossible. Here was evidence that Gogeta wasn't just a combination of powers, but a true blending of identities, each warrior contributing equally to the whole. The detail appears subtle in motion, visible only when you pause and examine, when you look at that confident smirk and realize it belongs to two people simultaneously. This kind of hidden craftsmanship appears throughout Dragon Ball if you know where to look. The animators and designers understood that small touches create believability, that even in a show about aliens who shoot energy from their hands, details matter. Gogeta's face became a symbol of that dedication, proof that someone cared enough to make the fusion feel real. Born on April 15, 1955, Akira Toriyama began his professional career at just 23 years old. He submitted a one-shot manga to Weekly Shonen Jump, a Star Wars parody that editor Kazuhiko Torishima couldn't accept but nonetheless saw promise within. Torishima encouraged the young artist to pursue original work instead of parodies, to find his own voice rather than borrowing someone else's. The early years brought struggle. Toriyama's first published work, Wonder Island, appeared in Weekly Shonen Jump in 1978, but his early manga failed to capture audiences. His editor suggested switching to a female protagonist, leading to Tomato the Cutie Gumshoe, which performed better but still didn't establish him as a major voice. Then came the suggestion that would change everything, create a manga about a girl robot. Dr. Slump starring Arella became a massive success starting in 1980, so popular that Toriyama wanted to end it after just months to preserve his sanity, only for his editor to demand he create something else if he insisted on stopping. In 1984, Dragon Ball began its serialization, and Toriyama's life changed forever. The manga would run for 11 years, becoming perhaps the most recognizable name in all of manga, inspiring nearly every major Shonen Jump creator who followed. Even now, decades after Dragon Ball ended its original run, Toriyama remains involved, judging contests, creating stories for new films, working alongside Toyotaro on Dragon Ball Super. His early struggles seem distant now, but they shaped how he approached storytelling, with humor, with creativity, with a willingness to let characters surprise him. One of the most enduring pieces of Dragon Ball trivia concerns Gohan and his intended role as the series' protagonist. After the Cell Games, when Goku chose to remain dead and leave Earth's protection to his son, Toriyama genuinely planned for Gohan to carry the story forward. The idea made narrative sense. The boy had grown powerful through the series, developing from frightened child to warrior capable of surpassing his father. The torch seemed ready to pass, but something unexpected happened. Toriyama realized that Gohan's character simply wasn't suited for the protagonist role in the way Goku had been. Where Goku lived for fighting and constantly sought new challenges, Gohan preferred peace and scholarship. Forcing Gohan into endless battles would betray who he was as a character. This realization came from an interview published in Daizenshu 2, where Toriyama explained his reasoning with characteristic honesty. This revelation sparked a persistent rumor that Dragon Ball was meant to end with the Cell Saga, but Toriyama never stated that. He simply acknowledged that his plan to shift protagonists hadn't worked out, that Goku needed to return because the story demanded it. The Buu Saga followed, giving us more adventures. more transformations, more moments of Goku being exactly who he needed to be. A warrior who loved fighting, not for glory but for the joy of pushing past limits. Hidden within the pages of Jaco, the Galactic Patrolman, lies a short extra chapter that rewrote Goku's origin story. Dragon Ball Minus shows us Bardock and Jean, parents who actively chose to save their son, rather than the original version where infant Goku was simply sent to conquer Earth. This gentler origin aligned Goku more closely with Superman, making him explicitly a child saved by parents who loved him, parents who died knowing they'd given their son a chance at survival. The story gained prominence when Dragon Ball Super Broly adapted it, with expanded scenes giving us more time with Bardock and Jean, showing their final moments as Frieza's attack sphere descended. The change divided fans. Some preferred the original tale of Bardock's psychic visions and doomed rebellion, while others appreciated the emotional weight of parents making a desperate choice. Both versions exist now in Dragon Ball's complex continuity, each one offering different insights into where Goku came from and why he became who he is. Most Dragon Ball characters carry names that hide wordplay, puns that reveal their thematic connections. All pure Saiyan names derive from vegetables, Vegeta from vegetable, Kakarot from carrot, Raditz from radish, Broly from broccoli. The Ginyu Force takes their names from dairy products, Ginyu from milk, Jace from cheese, Berter from butter. Even Gohan's name, which simply means rice, fits into the pattern of food-based naming that Toriyama employed throughout the series. These puns extend beyond characters to techniques and locations. Capsule Corporation suggests containment and convenience, while Kame House references the turtle hermit who lives there. The wordplay creates a playful undertone even in serious moments, a reminder that Dragon Ball never takes itself too seriously despite its cosmic stakes. Toriyama has always enjoyed these linguistic games, using them to keep the world feeling cohesive while maintaining his signature sense of humor. Learning these name origins changes how you perceive the series. Suddenly, every character introduction carries hidden meaning, every new warrior slotting into established patterns. The Saiyans are warriors, but also produce the galaxy's food. The Ginyu Force are elite soldiers who share dairy-based identities. These small details accumulate into a world that feels carefully constructed, despite Toriyama's admission that he often made things up as he went along. Perhaps no single line of dialogue has transcended its source more completely than "It's over 9,000." The phrase originated from a dubbing choice when Vegeta reads Goku's power level through his scouter, his shock causing the device to shatter. In the original Japanese version, Vegeta screams that Goku's power exceeds 8,000, but the English dub changed it to over 9,000 for better lip synchronization and dramatic effect. That small change created one of anime's most enduring memes. The line spread across the internet in the early 2000s, becoming shorthand for anything impressively powerful or numerous. It appeared on Oprah when discussing online communities. It showed up in countless parodies and remixes. It became something your friends who'd never watched Dragon Ball still recognized. Funimation and other companies leaned into it, keeping the 9,000 line even in Dragon Ball Kai's television version, while restoring 8,000 for the home release. The meme's persistence speaks to how cultural moments emerge unpredictably. A voice actor reading a changed line in a dubbing studio decades ago created something that outlived the scene itself, becoming bigger than the show that spawned it. Even people who mock the meme or dismiss it can't deny its impact. It helped Dragon Ball reach audiences who might never have discovered the series otherwise. Throughout Dragon Ball's long history, Goku has developed a peculiar recurring habit. He bites his opponents during combat. It happened first against King Piccolo, a desperate move from a young warrior facing someone far stronger. Then came Frieza, bitten twice during their brutal battle on Namek. Kid Buu received the same treatment as did Beerus during their godly confrontation, and even Broly felt Goku's teeth for a split second in their recent film. Whis too has been bitten. though in more playful circumstances. This strange technique has become an inside joke among fans, something to watch for during major battles. There is something primal about it, a reminder that beneath all his training and transformations, Goku fights with instinct and improvisation. He'll use anything available to survive, even methods that seem beneath a martial artist of his caliber. The biting serves no real strategic purpose. It's simply Goku being Goku, adapting to situations with whatever works in the moment. Over the years, fans began noticing patterns between Dragon Ball and Sonic the Hedgehog that seemed too consistent to be coincidental. Both franchises feature 7 magical objects that grant immense power: Dragon Balls and Chaos Emeralds. Both protagonists achieve golden super forms that dramatically increase their abilities and change their hair color. The connections run deeper, though, into actual development history. A leaked file called Sonic Next _all script contained character descriptions for Sonic 06, and in Silver's description, the developers explicitly stated "Think Trunks from Dragon Ball Z." This confirmed what fans had long suspected. Silver's character, his future timeline, his desperate journey to the past to prevent catastrophe, all drew direct inspiration from Trunks. During Sonic's 27th anniversary charity stream, the scriptwriter Shiro Maekawa confirmed that Silver was built around Vegeta's son as a base model. Even Super Sonic's creation acknowledged Dragon Ball's influence. The transformation's visual design, its golden aura, its association with ultimate power, all of it referenced the Super Saiyan transformation that had captivated the world. These connections don't diminish either franchise, but rather show how great ideas inspire new creations, how influence flows between artists and mediums, creating something new while honoring what came before. Released in September 2011, the episode of Bardock Special took Goku's father on an unexpected journey. After Frieza's attack, instead of dying, Bardock found himself transported back in time to an era before Saiyans arrived on planet Plant. There he encountered Lord Chilled, Frieza's ancestor, and through rage at this ancient tyrant, Bardock achieved something thought impossible. He became a Super Saiyan centuries before the transformation supposedly first appeared. The manga version was drawn by Naho Ishii, with Lord Chilled's design created by Akira Toriyama himself. The story exists in strange continuity space, neither fully canon nor entirely dismissed, a what-if scenario that nonetheless carries official weight. It gave Bardock more screen time, let him achieve the legendary form his son would later master, and suggested that perhaps the Super Saiyan legend existed because someone traveled back and created it. Fans remain divided on episode of Bardock's place in Dragon Ball lore. Some embrace it as a fun addition that enriches Bardock's character, while others prefer the tragic simplicity of his original death. Both versions can coexist in a franchise that's always been comfortable with multiple continuities, multiple interpretations of the same events. Before the current era of carefully planned Dragon Ball films, the franchise produced 16 theatrical movies during the original run of the anime. These films, 4 for Dragon Ball and 12 for Dragon Ball Z, never fit neatly into the main timeline, existing instead as side stories with different power scaling, different character dynamics, different rules. Japanese titles often ran long and descriptive, so fans typically referred to them by their English names or simply by number. The list includes Curse of the Blood Rubies, Sleeping Princess in Devil's Castle, Mystical Adventure, Dead Zone, The World's Strongest, The Tree of Might, Lord Slug, Cooler's Revenge, The Return of Cooler, Super Android 13, Broly the Legendary, Super Saiyan, BoJack Unbound, Broly Second Coming, Bio Broly, Fusion Reborn, Wrath of the Dragon, and finally Path to Power, a reimagining of Dragon Ball's early story released for the franchise's anniversary. These movies served different purposes. Some introduced villains who became fan favorites despite never appearing in the main story. Some experimented with ideas Toriyama never explored in the manga. Some simply gave audiences more Dragon Ball content during the show's peak popularity. Toriyama's involvement varied, sometimes limited to character designs, sometimes extending to story supervision. They represent a particular era of anime filmmaking when theatrical releases could tell standalone stories without worrying about strict continuity. The modern era of Dragon Ball films began in 2013 with Battle of Gods, marking a critical rebirth for the franchise. Unlike the previous theatrical releases, these new films, Battle of Gods, Resurrection F, Broly, and Super Hero, featured much deeper involvement from Akira Toriyama. He wrote scripts, provided detailed story outlines, designed characters, and maintained creative control in ways he never had with the older movies. This increased involvement came partly from Toriyama's dissatisfaction with how Dragon Ball had been handled in his absence. The live-action Dragon Ball Evolution film particularly upset him, motivating him to take a more active role in new Dragon Ball projects. In the 2016 Super History book, Toriyama explained that seeing Evolution and reviewing scripts for newer projects made him realize he cared too much about Dragon Ball to leave it entirely in others' hands. These four modern films changed Dragon Ball's trajectory. Battle of Gods introduced Godly Ki and Super Saiyan God, concepts that would define Dragon Ball Super. Resurrection F brought back Frieza and gave him golden form. Broly reimagined the legendary Saiyan with new backstory and canon status. Super Hero focused on Gohan and Piccolo while exploring the Red Ribbon Army's legacy through computer-generated animation. Each film felt essential rather than supplementary, actual continuations of Dragon Ball's story rather than side adventures. Television specials provided some of Dragon Ball's most memorable moments outside the main series. Bardock, the father of Goku, revealed one version of Goku's father and his final stand against Frieza, giving a doomed Saiyan warrior psychic visions of his son's future triumph. The history of Trunks showed us the apocalyptic timeline where androids 17 and 18 ravaged Earth, where Gohan fought alone until death, where young Trunks awakened his transformation through grief and loss. A hero's legacy came years after GT ended, following Goku Jr., a distant descendant living in a peaceful time who must find courage and strength when his grandmother falls ill. These specials expanded Dragon Ball's emotional range, showing us tragedy and determination, exploring corners of the timeline the main series never reached. They proved that Dragon Ball could tell intimate character stories alongside its cosmic battles. Team 4 Star created something unprecedented with their Dragon Ball Z abridged series, a humorous, condensed retelling of Dragon Ball Z that became a phenomenon in its own right. The series ran for years, attracting millions of viewers with its sharp writing, talented voice acting, and genuine love for the source material. It walked a delicate line between parody and homage, mocking Dragon Ball's quirks while celebrating what made it special. The abridged series sparked debate within the fandom. Some fans worried that jokes from the parody were being mistaken for actual Dragon Ball canon, that new viewers might not understand where the real series ended and the parody began. Others simply enjoyed having another way to experience the story, appreciating how the series condensed hundreds of episodes into a more manageable format while adding comedy. Team 4 Star's impact on Dragon Ball's Western fandom can't be overstated. Their version introduced the series to people who might never have watched the original, created quotes that fans still repeat, and demonstrated how fan works can exist alongside official products without diminishing either. The series eventually ended as the team moved on to other projects, but its legacy remains visible in how fans discuss and remember Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Kai represented an attempt to create a definitive version of Dragon Ball Z for modern audiences. The series removed most filler content, cleaned up the image quality, and added a new soundtrack. The original run covered only through the Cell saga before being revived in 2014 to complete the Buu saga as well. For English audiences, Kai meant something else, a chance to hear the series with a script much more faithful to the original Japanese version than the beloved but loose Funimation dub from the 90s. The final chapters, as the Buu Saga portion of Kai was called, existed in different versions for different regions. The international release had 69 episodes while Japan received 61, with the longer version containing previously cut filler material. Openings and endings differed between regions as well. Japan received multiple ending themes while international audiences got Fight It Out and only one ending sequence. Kai accomplished what it set out to do, giving Dragon Ball Z a more streamlined experience closer to Toriyama's original manga vision. Whether it succeeded as the definitive version remains debated. Some prefer the added content and looser dialogue of the original Z, while others appreciate Kai's efficiency and accuracy. Both versions continue to find audiences, each offering different perspectives on the same fundamental story. A persistent rumor claims that Akira Toriyama hates Vegeta, stemming from an interview in Daisen-shu 2 where Toriyama stated he doesn't particularly like the character but finds him useful narratively. This single comment has been repeated and exaggerated over the years, sometimes presented as evidence that Toriyama actively dislikes one of his most popular creations. The reality seems more nuanced. While Toriyama may not have initially connected with Vegeta the way fans did, his involvement in later stories suggests his feelings evolved. In a March 2014 Saikyo Jump issue, Toriyama expressed interest in making Vegeta the main character of a future film. This doesn't sound like someone who hates the character, but rather a creator who's come to appreciate what Vegeta brings to Dragon Ball's mythology. Vegeta's role expanded over the years precisely because audiences loved him. His rivalry with Goku, his pride, his gradual acceptance of Earth as his home and family as his purpose, these elements enriched Dragon Ball in ways Toriyama may not have initially planned, but came to value. The supposed hatred was likely just the creator being honest about his initial impressions, not realizing how one comment would follow him for decades. In the original Budokai game, players could discover a disturbing what-if scenario where Cell absorbs Krillin instead of the androids. The result, nicknamed Cellin by fans, became a grotesque, weakened version of the bio-android, his perfect form corrupted by absorbing someone far less powerful than intended. The scenario played out as a nightmare, with Cellin being defeated by Yamcha and Tien before Cell awakens in cold sweat, relieved it was only a dream. This bizarre what-if represented early experiments in Dragon Ball game storytelling, exploring absurd possibilities that the actual series would never touch. Other what-ifs in the game included Vegeta turning Super Saiyan during his first Earth invasion and defeating Goku, or Frieza achieving the immortality he sought on Namek. These alternate scenarios gave players agency over Dragon Ball's mythology, letting them answer questions like, what if things had gone differently at this crucial moment? The concept of what-ifs has since become central to Dragon Ball gaming, appearing in countless titles through different formats and mechanics. They satisfy a fundamental desire to explore paths not taken, to see beloved characters in impossible situations, to understand the story more deeply by examining how different choices would cascade into different outcomes. Hironobu Kageyama earned the title Mr. DBZ through his extensive musical contributions to the franchise. He sang not only the iconic Cha-La Het Cha-La, but numerous other image songs, insert songs, and album tracks that defined Dragon Ball's sound for a generation. His powerful voice became inseparable from the series in many fans' minds, his energy matching Goku's endless enthusiasm. Kageyama later joined Jam Project, a supergroup known for anime theme songs including One Punch Man's The Hero. His involvement with Dragon Ball decreased over time for various reasons, though he still makes appearances at special events like Dragon Ball Battle Hour. His legacy remains embedded in the franchise. Hearing the first notes of We Gotta Power or Chala Head Chala instantly transports fans back to specific eras, specific emotions, specific memories of watching Dragon Ball for the first time. Shunsuke Kikuchi composed the original score for Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, creating music that would accompany the series across hundreds of episodes. His work ranged from gentle piano pieces for emotional moments to driving action themes for intense battles. He also worked on other major franchises like Doraemon and Kamen Rider, but for Dragon Ball fans, his contributions defined how the series sounded. Kikuchi retired from composing new Dragon Ball music after Z ended, though his existing score continued appearing in video games and was later reused for Dragon Ball Kai, after the original Kai composer Kenji Yamamoto was fired for plagiarism. In English-speaking countries, particularly North America, Kikuchi's score was replaced with music more tailored to American audiences, creating different emotional associations for Western fans compared to Japanese viewers. He passed away on April 24, 2021, leaving behind a massive body of work that shaped how multiple generations experienced Dragon Ball. His music remains instantly recognizable, each theme carrying memories of specific characters, specific moments, specific emotional beats that still resonate decades later. If you're still awake halfway through, maybe subscribe before you drift off, and tell me what time it is where you're watching from. Kenji Yamamoto composed music for Dragon Ball video games and the original run of Dragon Ball Kai, creating a modern sound for the franchise that many fans embraced. His work featured rock influences and dramatic orchestration that fit Kai's faster pacing and updated visuals. Then, as Kai approached its conclusion in Japan, news broke that shattered his career. Yamamoto had plagiarized numerous tracks, copying from various sources without permission or credit. He was immediately fired, and Kai's soundtrack was replaced with Shunsuke Kikuchi's original Dragon Ball Z score. When Kai was revived for the Buu saga, Norihito Sumitomo took over composing duties. The scandal remains one of the more embarrassing moments in Dragon Ball's production history, a reminder that even major franchises aren't immune to ethical failures. Some of Yamamoto's tracks had been well loved before the plagiarism was discovered, making the revelation particularly painful for fans who'd connected with his music. The incident forced conversations about originality, about inspiration versus theft, about where the line exists between homage and copying. The Dragon Ball Super manga exists in complex relationship with the anime and with Akira Toriyama's involvement. Toyotaro works alongside the original creator, who corrects drafts and provides story outlines, but Toriyama is not the full writer as the English release sometimes suggests. Many hands shaped Dragon Ball Super. Toei Animation, Bandai, Toriyama, Toyotaro, and others all contribute to what becomes canon. The manga initially served primarily to promote the anime, following similar story beats with slight variations. Halfway through the Universe 6 arc, things shifted. The manga began deviating significantly, introducing different power-ups, different character moments, different resolutions to conflicts. Toyotaro gained more creative input, and eventually the manga outpaced the anime entirely, telling 3 complete arcs that have yet to be adapted to any other medium. This has created interesting questions about what constitutes the real Dragon Ball Super. Is it the anime that more people watched? The manga that continues the story? The films that Toriyama writes more directly? Perhaps all versions exist simultaneously, each one offering different perspectives on the same basic narrative. Dragon Ball has always been comfortable with multiple continuities, and Super simply continues that tradition in new forms. What if scenarios have captivated Dragon Ball fans since the franchise's early days, offering glimpses into alternate timelines where different choices led to different outcomes? Marvel Comics popularized the format with their What If series, but Dragon Ball fans made it their own, exploring questions like, what if Goku never hit his head? Or what if Raditz turned good? Or what if Vegeta achieved Super Saiyan first? Video games embraced what ifs enthusiastically. Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 featured multiple alternate story paths, while games like Xenoverse and Heroes built entire narratives around protecting history from those who would change it. The Spanish-speaking fandom pioneered fan-made video what-ifs on YouTube, later spreading to English-speaking fans through creators like Masakogs and others. These scenarios do more than just entertain. They help fans understand Dragon Ball's actual story more deeply. By examining what would change if specific events played out differently, you gain appreciation for why things happened as they did, for how small moments cascaded into major consequences. What ifs turn passive viewers into active participants, letting everyone become storytellers exploring the Dragon Ball universe's infinite possibilities. Launched on April 1st, 2012, Kanzen-Shu emerged from the fusion of two prior Dragon Ball fan sites, the Essential EX and Kanzentai. The site became an invaluable resource through its comprehensive interviews, translations, and documentation of Dragon Ball's production history. The site consists of the main page, active forums, and an upcoming wiki, all dedicated to preserving and sharing information about the franchise. Kanzen-Shu's greatest contribution might be making Japanese-only interviews and materials accessible to English-speaking fans. They've translated conversations with Akira Toriyama, voice actors, animators, and others involved in creating Dragon Ball across its various incarnations. These translations provide context that official English releases often lack, helping Western fans understand the series from perspectives closer to its creator's intentions. The Namekian Book of Legends ties into the Super Saiyan God ritual introduced in Battle of Gods. Shenron mentions this ancient text when explaining the ritual's requirements, describing how a Namekian elder long ago encountered the spirit of Yamoshi, a kind-hearted Saiyan, who stood against evil members of his race. Yamoshi achieved a legendary transformation, but died when his power faded during battle against overwhelming numbers. His spirit wandered the universe seeking pure-hearted Saiyans who could achieve what he couldn't sustain. When Yamoshi's spirit appeared before a sympathetic Namekian elder and told his story, that elder recorded everything in what became the Book of Legends. This origin story for the Super Saiyan God myth adds depth to Dragon Ball's mythology, suggesting that powerful transformations aren't just genetic accidents, but sometimes emerge from spiritual lineages and ancient struggles. Yamoshi himself has become a character in his own right through various fan interpretations, and an animatic series by Geekdom Sundo 1 will explore his story, with various YouTubers voicing characters. The concept of an ancient good Saiyan fighting against his evil race resonates with Dragon Ball's themes about choosing your path regardless of heritage. Zalama exists as one of Dragon Ball's deepest mysteries, the creator of the Super Dragon Balls and Super Shenron. According to legend, Zalama crafted these immense Dragon Balls during the 4th year of the Divine Calendar, scattering them across the 6th and 7th universes. Each Super Dragon Ball is the size of a planet, and together they can grant any wish without limitation, even wishes regular Dragon Balls can't fulfill. Almost nothing is known about Zalama beyond this basic information. Different interpretations exist about whether Zalama is the dragon itself or a separate creator, with the English dub sometimes conflating the two. This ambiguity adds to the mystique, making Zalama feel truly ancient and unknowable. The Super Dragon Balls represent perhaps the ultimate expression of wish-granting power in Dragon Ball's universe. They dwarf Kami's and Dende's Dragon Balls, even surpass Porunga. Their existence suggests that creation itself is possible through sufficient power and knowledge, that reality can be rewritten if you gather the right components and speak the right words. Power scaling, the practice of comparing character strength within a series or against other franchises, has been popular for decades, and Dragon Ball helped establish it as a common fan activity. The series' emphasis on quantifiable power levels during the Saiyan and Frieza sagas gave fans concrete numbers to debate. concrete measurements suggesting objective hierarchies of strength. Death Battle, a web series examining fictional matchups, has featured multiple Dragon Ball characters. Goku, Vegeta, and others have appeared in episodes analyzing their abilities, comparing their feats, attempting to determine who would win theoretical fights against characters from other series. These videos spark endless discussion in comment sections and forums, with fans arguing about whether the analysis was fair, whether important factors were overlooked, whether their favorite character was properly represented. The appeal of power scaling lies partly in trying to bring objectivity to inherently subjective questions. If we can just gather enough information, analyze enough feats, calculate enough force behind each attack, surely we can determine who's truly strongest. But Dragon Ball itself often contradicts this approach. Characters win through determination, strategy, trickery, or simple narrative necessity rather than pure power. The strongest fighter doesn't always triumph, suggesting that maybe power scaling misses something essential about how stories work. Dragon Ball AF exists as perhaps the most famous fan manga in anime history. AF supposedly stood for After Future or Absolute Failure or other phrases depending on who you asked, and for years rumors circulated about it being an actual upcoming Dragon Ball series. Instead, it was multiple fan artists trying their hand at continuing Dragon Ball's story beyond where the official series had ended. Toyotaro, drawing under the name Toyblee, created perhaps the most well-known AF manga, introducing the character Zyko, the son of the West Supreme Kai who used Goku's DNA. Other artists like Young GGE and Prince Gaz Vegeta created their own versions, each exploring different possibilities for what could come after GT. The various AF mangas ranged widely in quality and tone, some staying close to Toriyama's style, while others ventured into new territory. The persistence of AF rumors speaks to fans' hunger for new Dragon Ball content during the years between GT's end and Battle of Gods announcement. When official Dragon Ball disappeared, fan creators stepped in to fill the void, producing their own visions of what could come next. Toyotaro's talent eventually led to him becoming the official Dragon Ball Super manga artist, a remarkable journey from fan creator to official successor. The debate over which form of Majin Buu is strongest has raged for years despite seemingly clear statements in the series. Kid Buu represents Buu's original pure evil form, untainted by absorption. Super Buu with Gohan absorbed represents Buu at his most powerful in terms of raw capabilities. The anime and manga provide different implications about which version should be considered strongest, with some statements suggesting Kid Buu's lack of restraint makes him more dangerous, while others indicate Buuhan's combined abilities exceed anything else Buu achieved. Most fans have settled on Buuhan as objectively strongest in terms of power, while Kid Buu remains most dangerous due to his unpredictability and lack of any moral restraint. The debate revealed something about how fans engage with Dragon Ball, the desire for clear hierarchies, for definitive answers to questions the series itself treats more ambiguously. Sometimes the most interesting characters are those whose power can't be easily measured or ranked. A meme emerged within the Dragon Ball fandom as response to fans who constantly bring up Goku in discussions about other franchises. The "he's not beating Goku" meme mocks the tendency of certain Dragon Ball fans to respond to any discussion of powerful fictional characters by insisting that character couldn't defeat Goku. Someone praises their favorite hero from another series, and inevitably someone appears to ask, but could they beat Goku though? The meme started as genuine annoyance at this behavior, but evolved into self-aware humor, with Dragon Ball fans themselves joking about the reputation. It highlights how Dragon Ball's prominence in power-scaling discussions sometimes overshadows appreciation for other works on their own merits. Not everything needs to be compared to Goku. Not every fictional universe needs to be measured against Dragon Ball's escalating power levels. Still, the meme persists because the underlying behavior persists. Dragon Ball occupies such a central place in anime culture that references to it appear everywhere, comparisons feel inevitable, and questions about Goku's strength relative to other characters continue generating discussion decades after the series began. Dragon Ball has faced censorship across its various releases, particularly in Western markets where content deemed inappropriate for children required modification. The manga's frequent use of nudity, mostly played for comedy, was altered in early English releases. Blood was digitally removed or recolored in various anime releases. Mr. Popo's design was changed to blue in certain edits to avoid racist connotations. Dialogue was rewritten extensively, sometimes to remove references to death or violence, sometimes simply because localizers wanted different characterization. Attack names underwent changes as well, with the Gallic gun becoming Gallic Blast to avoid weapon references, though ironically Goku's techniques often kept their original names. The most recent significant censorship involved Caulifla having additional clothing drawn onto her design in certain regions, modifying her midriff-bearing outfit to be more conservative. Each instance of censorship sparked debate about whether changes protected young audiences or disrespected the original creator's vision. The conversation continues with each new release, each new market, each new attempt to balance fidelity to source material with local standards about what's appropriate for Dragon Ball's target demographics. Everyone knows Dragon Ball was based on Journey to the West, the classic Chinese novel about Sun Wukong the Monkey King. Toriyama drew heavy inspiration from this ancient story when beginning his manga, modeling Goku directly on Sun Wukong, giving him a tail, a extending staff, a flying cloud, incredible strength, and playful personality. The early Dragon Ball follows Journey to the West's structure fairly closely, with Bulma serving as the monk figure and various companions joining the quest for Dragon Balls that parallel the original Journey's Buddhist scriptures. As Dragon Ball progressed, it departed from Journey to the West's narrative while keeping some elements. Goku's ability to transform builds on Sun Wukong's 72 transformations. His staff, the Power Pole, directly references Wukong's Rui Jingu Bang. Even Goku's original design with wild spiky hair and monkey features drew from traditional Wukong depictions. The connection runs deep enough that understanding Journey to the West enriches Dragon Ball, revealing why certain elements exist and how Toriyama adapted them into something new. Before Dragon Ball became the series we know, Toriyama created proto-versions exploring similar concepts. Dragon Boy was a 2-chapter manga released 1 year before Dragon Ball's first chapter, featuring a boy named Tang Tong who accompanies a princess back to her homeland. He owns a dragon jewel that summons dragons using a special key, a clear precursor to the Dragon Balls and summoning Shenron. The Adventures of Tongpu came out the same year, also predating Dragon Ball by 12 months. It featured proto-versions of Goku and Bulma in characters who found themselves in similar situations, using capsule technology and going on adventures. These early experiments let Toriyama test concepts he'd later refine, finding what worked and what didn't before committing to the series that would define his career. Looking at Dragon Boy and Tongpu reveals Toriyama's creative process, showing how ideas evolved from rough drafts into polished final forms. Elements that seemed random in Dragon Ball often had origins in these earlier works, proving that even improvised seeming stories build on foundations laid months or years prior. In the Ocean dub of Dragon Ball Z, a peculiar error creates the misconception that Bardock was a great scientist. When Vegeta explains the artificial moon technique, the dialogue incorrectly states that Goku's father invented it. This contradicts established lore where the technique was known to multiple Saiyans and wasn't Bardock's creation at all. The error stems from dubbing scripts that took liberties with the original dialogue, sometimes adding information that didn't exist in Japanese versions. This mistake spread through the fandom as fans who only watched the Ocean dub accepted it as fact. Later releases with more accurate translations corrected the error, but for a generation of fans, Bardock remained associated with scientific genius he never possessed. It serves as example of how localization choices can create false information that persists for years. Android 21 emerged as the most famous Dragon Ball character created specifically for a video game rather than manga or anime. Designed by Akira Toriyama for Dragon Ball Fighter Z, she was an android created by Dr. Gero's machines based on his wife Vomi. She possesses Majin-like characteristics including an insatiable hunger that threatens to consume her sanity and eventually the universe. The game's story mode featured both her human form and her evil Majin form, with her good half ultimately sacrificing itself to save reality from her corrupted hunger. Her design struck a balance between Toriyama's classic style and something distinct enough to feel fresh, and she quickly became popular enough to appear in other Dragon Ball games and promotional materials. Android 21 represents successful video game character creation in established franchises. She feels like she could have appeared in the original series while bringing something new to Dragon Ball's roster. Her story of internal struggle between good and evil impulses echoes themes Toriyama explored with characters like Majin Buu and Piccolo. Dr. Gero's past became more detailed through various revelations over the years. Toriyama revealed in interviews that Gero had a son named Gebo, who died while serving in the army. Gero used his son as the basis for Android 16, creating a powerful warrior based on Gebo's appearance but refusing to activate him because seeing his son's face was too painful. This added tragic dimension to Gero's character, suggesting his hatred for Goku stemmed partly from grief over his son's death. Android 21's connection to this history created more narrative depth. She was Gero's wife, Gebo's mother, giving both her human and android forms emotional weight. This family history extended further with Dr. Hedo, grandson to Gero, who appears in Dragon Ball Super Hero, creating new androids while following his grandfather's footsteps. The Red Ribbon Army thus spans generations, from Gero's original hatred of Goku through his family's continued attempts to build powerful androids. Each generation approaches the work differently, but maintains connection to what came before, creating tragic lineage of brilliant scientists whose talents turn toward destruction. Bonyu appeared as another video game original character, designed by Toriyama for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. She was an original member of the Ginyu Force who left because she couldn't perform the elaborate poses Captain Ginyu required. Her name is a pun on breast milk, fitting the dairy product naming scheme of the Force. Players can find data about her in the ship Goku used to leave Yardrat, learning about this forgotten warrior. Her existence raises interesting questions about Ginyu Force history. How many members came and went before the team we know assembled? What other warriors might have served under Frieza in elite positions? Bonyu represents the unseen history behind Dragon Ball's villains, the untold stories of those who didn't make it into the main narrative. Dragon Ball's massive popularity in Latin America became global news during the Tournament of Power arc of Dragon Ball Super. Public screenings of new episodes drew thousands of fans, with some events taking on atmosphere of major sporting events. Posters advertised Goku vs. Jiren like UFC fights, and crowds chanted in unison while watching. The phenomenon grew so large that Japan's embassy in Mexico sent letters to Toei Animation demanding the screenings stop due to copyright infringement. Most screenings continued anyway, showing the strength of Latin American passion for Dragon Ball. When Dragon Ball Super Broly premiered, the film's soundtrack incorporated elements inspired by Latin American fans chanting during Tournament of Power viewings, completing a circle where fan enthusiasm influenced official production. Latin America's love for Dragon Ball runs deeper than mere popularity. Its cultural institution, shared experience across generations, common language between people who might otherwise have little in common. The public screenings manifested that connection physically, turning private viewing into communal celebration. One Piece and Dragon Ball have crossed over several times, bringing together two of Shonen Jump's most successful franchises. The Dream 9 special featured characters from both series plus Toriko competing in a food-based tournament, showing how these different worlds might interact. Cross Epoch, a manga special where Akira Toriyama and Eiichiro Oda collaborated, remains perhaps the most significant crossover, blending the two universes into something neither creator could make alone. Earlier crossovers existed too, including a 2003 special called Kyotai Panic Adventure, featuring characters from Dragon Ball, One Piece, and even Astro Boy. Later, the Dream 9 special's second half featuring all three series aired on Toonami, though without Toriko's portion dubbed since Funimation no longer held those rights. These crossovers celebrate Shonen Jump's legacy while letting fans see beloved characters interact in ways the main series never allows. Their holiday specials, friendly competitions, moments out of time where narrative constraints lift and pure fun takes over. Charlotte became the second most famous video game original Dragon Ball character through his role as protagonist of Dragon Ball Legends mobile game. He's an ancient Saiyan from planet Sadala with a twin brother named Giblet, both transported to the present day where Charlotte becomes a time patroller fighting to protect history. Through the game's ongoing story updates, he's achieved transformations up to Super Saiyan God, with his tale continuing through new chapters. Kenji Akabane voices Charlotte in Japanese while Alejandro Saab, known online as Kagi Films, formerly a popular Dragon Ball YouTuber, voices him in English. This casting connected the character to Dragon Ball's fan community in interesting ways, bringing someone who grew up loving the series into official production. Charlotte's story explores what Saiyans were before Frieza's influence corrupted their culture before they became the brutal warriors Vegeta described. His character suggests that Saiyan potential for good existed long before Goku proved it, that the race's violence was choice rather than inevitable nature. Dragon Ball Heroes represents the sixth and most successful installment in the Dragon Ball Cardass arcade game series. Released in 2010 for Japanese arcades, it built on earlier games' mechanics while expanding the roster to include characters from across Dragon Ball's various timelines and what-if scenarios. Players use physical cards representing different characters, placing them on the arcade machine's scanner to bring them into battle. The game was rebranded as Super Dragon Ball Heroes in 2016 with updated visuals and expanded mechanics. 3 Nintendo 3DS ports were created, along with a Switch and PC version called World Mission that became the first Heroes content officially released in the West. The game's enormous profitability comes from its card sales and arcade plays in Japan, where it maintains dedicated player base. Heroes embraces pure fan service with scenarios like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta fighting Super Saiyan Blue Vegito, or Broly teaming with Janemba against Goku and Vegeta's fused forms. It shares DNA with Dragon Ball Online and Xenoverse, all exploring similar concepts of protecting timelines from those who would corrupt them. Mira and Towa emerged as prominent villains in Dragon Ball Online, a Korean MMORPG that introduced many concepts later used in other games. Towa is Dabura's sister, a demon scientist who created Mira as her android warrior and husband. Together, they manipulate timelines trying to gather energy and alter history for their own purposes. They had a child named Fu, who becomes major player in Heroes' ongoing story. These characters appeared as main antagonists in Xenoverse 1 and 2, with cameos in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. They represent a new type of Dragon Ball villain, not seeking simple conquest or destruction, but rather manipulating causality itself, treating timelines as experiments, viewing history as something to reshape according to their designs. Dragon Ball Online launched in Korea after being announced in 2007, finally releasing in 2010. Servers operated in Korea, Hong Kong, and Taiwan until 2013. The game introduced Time Patrollers as heroic organization, with future Trunks as Time Patrol Trunks, serving as prominent character fighting to preserve proper history. The story takes place in age 1000, hundreds of years after the original manga's conclusion. Earth's population now includes Magians, Namekians, and Saiyan hybrids alongside humans. We learn that Goten and Trunks founded sword-fighting schools, that Krillin and Tien established new versions of Turtle and Crane schools, that Gohan wrote books about ki control, which sparked renewed interest in martial arts across the world. Perhaps most poignantly, the game reveals that Goku and Vegeta left Earth together for one final battle in space. Years later, a supernova appeared in the distance, the last anyone ever heard of them. This ending for the two rivals carries beautiful symmetry, letting them spend eternity doing what they loved most, fighting each other beyond anyone's observation or judgment. S-Cells entered Dragon Ball Biology through a Saikyo Jump Q&A from January 2018. Toriyama explained that not anyone can become Super Saiyan through training and anger alone. Saiyans must accumulate S-cells in their bodies, and once S-cells reach certain threshold, a trigger like intense emotion explosively increases them, causing the transformation. Most Saiyans possess some S-cells, though not great quantities. Goku and Vegeta's children become Super Saiyan relatively easily because they inherited substantial S-cells, and because Earth's environment is gentler than planet Vegeta, making it easier to increase S-cell count. Having a gentle spirit provides the best way to greatly increase S-cells, which explains why no Super Saiyans appeared for so long they became legend. Most Saiyans struggled with gentleness. However, gentle spirit alone isn't enough. A certain amount of battle power is necessary to become Super Saiyan, requiring both spiritual and physical development. This explanation attempted to rationalize why transformations that once seemed special became increasingly common, why young Trunks and Goten achieved Super Saiyan with apparent ease. The Daisen-Shu guidebooks became the closest thing Dragon Ball had to definitive encyclopedias. 7 main volumes plus 3 supplemental ones were published between 1995 and 96, covering everything from complete illustrations to story guides, from TV animation breakdowns to the Dragon Ball encyclopedia itself. 6 volumes contained interviews with Toriyama, making them valuable resources for understanding his creative process. Toriyama admitted having little involvement in creating these books. His editor Torishima gathered most information. Despite this, many fans treat Daisen-Shu as Dragon Ball's Bible, the ultimate authority on details the manga itself never clarified. The books contain information about character heights, power levels, attack names, timeline placements, and other specifics that fuel endless fan discussions. Dragon Ball Super Heroes' unexpected product placement of Oreos served actual plot purpose. Dr. Hedo's obsession with the cookies throughout the film stemmed from a collaboration between Oreo and the movie. Special Dragon Ball packaging featuring characters from Super Hero appeared on Oreo packages for limited time in Japan, creating cross-promotion that worked because it felt organic to Hedo's character rather than forced advertising. The opening theme song, Chala Head Chala, contains a face in its animation that many people don't recognize. Some think it's Kami, but close examination reveals Dr. Gero's distinctive mustache. The confusion arises because many countries only received certain versions of the opening, particularly the Cell Saga version, meaning Dr. Gero's face appeared from the Saiyan saga onward, for many viewers who didn't understand the context. Another hidden detail exists in the opening that even fewer notice. During the flash of light where something resembling keyboard descends, if you look carefully you can see someone inside, Vegeta flying toward the camera. These small touches show the care animators put into opening sequences, hiding details fans might not discover for years. Takao Koyama wrote screenplays for the majority of Dragon Ball Z movies, creating some of the franchise's most enduring characters, including Broly the legendary Super Saiyan. In the Dragon Book accompanying movie collections, Koyama stated he believed nobody stronger than Broly existed, not even in the main anime, claiming children even cried during Broly's film. When Battle of Gods premiered, Koyama commented that Broly seemed scarier than Beerus, despite Beerus being a god. The Dragon Boxes represented one of the best ways to watch Dragon Ball, despite limited availability. Starting in 2003, Toei Animation released these DVD sets beginning with Z. Made in very low quantities, each came with Dragon books containing facts and interviews. The boxes featured awesome designs by Katsuyoshi Nakatsuru, and the source footage came from original 16mm film reels. The closest we'll probably ever get to viewing direct cell animation. The remastering process by Pony Canyon attempted reducing damage from aging film while maintaining 4:3 aspect ratio, the way the series was meant to be watched. Dragon Ball Z was divided into two parts. GT received one set, as did the original Dragon Ball and the movies. The American release came in 7 volumes, with some differences from Japanese versions. They lacked certain special features, but included translated Dragon books. Early orders for Dragon boxes in Japan came with special presents. The first included a Goku figure, the second a Piccolo figure. GT came with Dragon Radar replica, the movies with a Scouter, and the original anime with a Tenkaichi Budokai display designed by Toriyama. These were filled with special features including rare TV specials, textless openings, and episode previews, though they weren't perfect, missing some content like certain GT previews. The orange bricks earned their nickname from distinctive packaging when these season sets released in 2007 as a remastered version of Dragon Ball Z. They remain the most common Dragon Ball sets available, still being released with updated packaging, but they have significant issues. Perhaps most problematic is the cropping. Around 20% of vertical image was lost while only gaining 5% horizontal to make the 4:3 frame fit 16:9 modern displays. This cropping required reframing many shots, sometimes cutting off character faces or important visual elements. Colors were altered, inconsistencies appeared, and overall image quality suffered in various ways. Sadly, these became the most readily available version of Dragon Ball Z for Western audiences, meaning most casual fans watched the series in compromised form. The Blu-ray season sets attempted addressing some issues by maintaining 4:3 aspect ratio, but had their own problems, including digital noise reduction that damaged image quality. The 30th anniversary Blu-ray set tried again with mixed results. Meanwhile, the Dragon Ball and GT counterparts to Orange Bricks had different issues since they underwent different remastering processes. Neko Majin Z was a short series by Toriyama, featuring 8 chapters total. As the chapters progressed, Neko Majin Z became the focus, and the series evolved into quasi-sequel to Dragon Ball. Goku appears training Oob, Frieza has a son named Kuriza, and a new Saiyan named Onyo shows up. The series maintains Toriyama's gag manga sensibility while existing in ambiguous relationship to Dragon Ball canon. As fun as Neko Majin Z is, fitting it into proper continuity proves difficult because Vegeta works for Frieza again, which contradicts established timeline. Still, it shows Toriyama playfully returning to his creation, experimenting with its universe in low-stakes format. Numerous differences exist between Dragon Ball's manga and anime beyond the obvious points of animation and color. Piccolo has 4 fingers in the manga while possessing 5 in the anime. Majin Buu sports mitten-like hands in the manga, essentially 2 fingers, but full 5-fingered hands in the anime. In the manga, Goku gets hit by Bulma's car, whereas in the anime she stops just before impact. During the Cell games, the manga shows multiple Z fighters, helping Gohan during the final beam struggle against Cell, but the anime depicts only Vegeta's assistance. King Kai's pet monkey Gregory was created exclusively for anime. He never appears in manga except the manga adaptation of Yo Son Goku and His Friends Return Special. Some gore gets toned down in anime, such as Dr. Gero's murder of a driver by crushing their neck. The history of Trunks special differs significantly between anime and manga versions. In the anime, Gohan's death triggers Trunks' Super Saiyan transformation, while the manga shows Trunks already transformed before that point. Dragon Ball Super contains even more differences between anime and manga, enough to constitute their own lengthy discussion. For the Kanzenban perfect release of the Dragon Ball manga, Toriyama made alterations to the ending. He added pages to the fight against Kid Buu, making the conclusion feel more complete and well-rounded. The biggest change involves added scenes with Oob and Goku's departure. Goku gives Oob the flying nimbus in these new pages, and Toriyama's message to readers was changed to Vegeta promising himself he'd one day overcome Kakarot. The narration at the end shifted from the world being safe thanks to Dragon Balls to being safe because of strong people, a subtle but meaningful change in emphasis. Opinions vary on whether Toriyama's original message to readers or Vegeta's internal monologue works better as the series' final words, but most fans prefer the Kanzenban version overall for its additional polish. Ford commissioned 2 car commercials featuring Dragon Ball characters. In the first, Krillin and Gohan wish on Purunga for a Ford Focus. The second commercial takes place at Kami's lookout as Goten and Trunks fuse into a Ford Fusion, a wordplay joke on Fusion Dance. Sailor Moon also had Ford commercials, suggesting the company saw anime tie-ins as effective marketing strategy. Before Toriyama took greater control, Battle of Gods was originally conceived very differently. The Super Saiyan God was going to be muscular and caped rather than the slimmer red-haired form we got. Beerus was designed as a reptile appearing more conventionally evil instead of the cat-like character who became popular. When Toriyama saw these early concepts, he essentially took over the project, redesigning characters and reshaping the story. This increased involvement came partly from his strong negative reaction to Dragon Ball Evolution and partly from dissatisfaction with recent Dragon Ball quality. In the 2016 Super History book, Toriyama explained he'd put Dragon Ball behind him, but seeing how Evolution upset him and how he ended up revising scripts and complaining about quality made him realize he liked Dragon Ball too much to leave it alone. The Galactic Patrol as organization appeared before Jaco the Galactic Patrolman manga, though many fans don't realize this. Their first appearance came in Sachi-chan, a manga by Toriyama and Masakazu Katsura, who would later work on Astral Chain. The patrol appears briefly with different symbols to arrest space pirates. Gia was the second installment, also drawn by Katsura, where a galactic patrolman arrives to defeat Wrath Patrolman. The Galactic King is mentioned here and shown later in Jaco the Galactic Patrolman. This loose series established the Galactic Patrol within the Dragon World before Jaco refined what they were. Jaco himself has since appeared in multiple Dragon Ball installments, including Super, becoming a recurring character connecting Toriyama's other works to Dragon Ball proper. The Great Saiyaman identity has been used multiple ways across Dragon Ball media. In Toyotaro's Dragon Ball AF manga, when he used the name Toibal, Goten takes up the Great Saiyaman 3 mantle. Toyotaro revisited this idea in Dragon Ball Super, with Goten and Trunks becoming Great Saiyaman X1 and X2. In Dragon Ball Heroes, Xeno Trunks operates undercover as Great Saiyaman 3, and Beat becomes Great Saiyaman 4 in Heroes World Mission. Of course, Gohan originated the identity as Great Saiyaman 1 with Videl as Great Saiyaman 2. This legacy of heroic identities shows how one embarrassing costume became something multiple generations adopted, each adding their own interpretation while maintaining the core concept of masked hero protecting the city. Akira Toriyama didn't create Dragon Ball in isolation. He had editors overseeing the manga's development, ensuring it told compelling stories that would succeed in Weekly Shonen Jump. Through Dragon Ball's run, 3 editors shaped the series: Kazuhiko Torishima, Yu Kondo, and Fuyuto Takeda. Torishima recruited Toriyama to Shonen Jump and edited through the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai arc. He served as inspiration for both King Piccolo and Dr. Mashirito from Dr. Slump, characters who embodied his demanding editorial approach. After leaving Dragon Ball, he became editor-in-chief of B-Jump and later Shonen Jump itself. His influence on making Dragon Ball action-focused and spectacle-driven can't be overstated. Yukondo took over after Torishima, leading Toriyama to make Dragon Ball even more action-oriented with increasing power levels and greater spectacle. Interestingly, Kondo had background in shoujo manga aimed at young girls and tried listening to female Dragon Ball fans when editing. He served as inspiration for Frieza and future Trunks, according to Toriyama. Kondo edited through the Cell saga before departing. The final editor was Fuyuto Takeda, who handled the entire Buu saga. Takeda had looser editorial approach, allowing Toriyama more freedom to pursue ideas he wanted to explore. This resulted in Mr. Satan receiving larger role and the Buu saga having different tone than earlier arcs. Takeda believes he was the inspiration for Majin Buu, though Toriyama denied consciously basing villains on his editors. Victory Uchida serves as editor-in-chief of V-Jump and acts as something of a mascot for the magazine. He serves as editor to Dragon Ball Super, working alongside Toyotaro and Toriyama on story development. His role continues the tradition of editors shaping Dragon Ball's direction while respecting Toriyama's vision. In the Nintendo DS game Jump Superstars, Dr. Mashirito and Piccolo have a team attack where they fuse together. This unusual pairing makes sense when you realize both characters were inspired by the same editor, Kazuhiko Torishima. The fusion represents Toriyama's creations from different series combining based on their shared origin in his relationship with his demanding editor. DB Ganon is a Japanese comedy group that cosplays Dragon Ball characters and creates hilarious content that's spread across Twitter and other platforms. Their music videos have become particularly popular, with R. Fujitomo playing Vegeta as the group's face. His cosplay captures Vegeta's intensity while allowing for comedic situations. Identity V Tajima is a comedy duo that often collaborates with R. Fujitomo, with one member playing Masako Nozawa, Goku's Japanese voice actress. Together, these groups create Dragon Ball comedy that respects the source while finding humor in its characters and situations. Filler arcs exist in nearly every long-running shonen anime to prevent the show from catching up to the manga's source material. Dragon Ball Z contains numerous filler arcs including the Garlic Jr. saga, the Other World Tournament, and extended training sequences. Even Dragon Ball Kai, which promised to cut filler, kept some material for pacing reasons. Toriyama sometimes aided the staff with filler content. He added Gregory as King Kai's pet, gave the Saiyan's backstory with the Tuffles, created Picon, and helped with other elements that filled time while maintaining quality. Some filler has been embraced by fans as honorary canon, while other additions are largely forgotten or actively disliked. The Gogeta vs. Vegito debate has consumed Dragon Ball fans for years. These two fusions of Goku and Vegeta represent different methods. Potara earrings versus fusion dance, but now possess the same transformations thanks to Dragon Ball Super Broly and Heroes. Fans argue endlessly using statements from guidebooks, quotes from producers, feats from various media, trying to determine which fusion is objectively stronger. Death Battle even featured this matchup, though their conclusion satisfied few participants in the debate. Everyone has their favorite fusion, and proving one superior to the other has become point of pride for many fans. The truth is both fusions exist to serve different narrative purposes in their respective stories, making objective comparison difficult if not impossible. Toriyama's contributions to Dragon Ball GT varied but weren't non-existent despite popular belief. Most significantly, he created the title. GT stands for Grand Touring or Galaxy Touring, referencing the first arc where Goku, Trunks, and Pan Planet Hop searching for Black Star Dragon Balls. He provided character designs showing the main cast 7 years after Z's ending, designing GT Goku, Pan, Trunks, and Jiro the robot. Perhaps most famously, he drew Vegeta with the mustache many fans dislike and gave him his GT haircut. He also designed the GT spaceship with its distinctive appearance. Toriyama created 3 cool promotional images of the GT team, and interestingly, these concept pieces show Trunks wielding a gun and Pan wearing a jean jacket, neither of which appeared in the actual show, suggesting these were early concepts the anime staff didn't fully adopt. Published in 2016 and drawn by Dragon Garo Lee, That Time I Got Reincarnated as Yamcha follows a high school student who has an accident and wakes up as Yamcha. Using his knowledge of Dragon Ball's story, he works to make Yamcha relevant and powerful, even getting his potential unlocked by the Namekian Elder's granddaughter. It's genuinely funny while also being a touching tribute to an often mocked character. Dragon Garo Lee had made fan manga before being officially hired for this story, showing how fan creators can sometimes break into official work if their passion and skill prove evident. The Yamcha manga proved popular enough to inspire other similar projects. Bibbidi Babbidi and Boo create one of Dragon Ball's cleverest name puns, forming Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo from the Cinderella song. Later additions to the family in Dragon Ball Heroes, Salaga and Meiki Kabula, complete more of the magical song's lyrics. These musical name puns represent Toriyama's playful approach to character naming at its finest. Monster Carrot was defeated in unusual way when Goku took him and his gang to the moon, leaving them there to make mochi for eternity, based on Japanese folklore about moon rabbits. The moon has been destroyed multiple times in Dragon Ball, yet Monster Carrot presumably still exists up there somewhere unless he perished when Roshi or Piccolo destroyed Earth's satellite. This creates odd continuity question. Did Monster Carrot survive moon destruction? Was he transported elsewhere? Did he die, making Goku indirectly responsible? The series never addresses this, leaving Monster Carrot in strange limbo between living and dead, present and forgotten. Dragon Ball Super spawned many theories during its run, particularly during the Tournament of Power. Fans created increasingly elaborate predictions about what would happen next, some serious and some ironic memes. The theory that Heat wasn't actually eliminated but his clone was sparked lengthy discussions. El Hermano, supposedly Jiren's brother, became a meme character fans joked would suddenly appear to defeat everyone. Gohan Blanco represented Ultimate Gohan form fans wanted to see, becoming meme itself. Interestingly, some joke theories have slowly manifested in various forms. Elements that started as fan speculation sometimes influenced official products or found their way into promotional material. The line between fan creativity and official Dragon Ball has always been porous, with good ideas sometimes crossing over. On October 8, 2017, a special combining episodes 109 and 110 of Dragon Ball Super aired, featuring Goku obtaining Ultra Instinct Omen for the first time. This ultimate battle in all the universes special combined 2 episodes into one presentation and was advertised heavily alongside One Piece's special the week before. The episode had some differences from the regular broadcast versions and marked major milestone in Dragon Ball Super's run. Many fan manga artists who began as creators of unofficial Dragon Ball content eventually became official artists. Toyotaro represents the most successful example, going from Dragon Ball AF under the name Toybale to becoming Dragon Ball Super's manga artist. Dragon Garo Lee created Dragon Ball Sai before drawing the official Yamcha manga. Naho Ishii drew adult Dragon Ball Doujinshi under the name Gigi before becoming official artist, working on episode of Bardock and Yo Son Goku and his friends return. Furusawa Jr., one of the best Dragon Ball illustrators, originally made doujinshi in the 90s before becoming official artist. These artists' journeys from fan creators to official contributors shows that talent and passion can sometimes lead to professional opportunities if you persist and develop your skills. When casting Dragon Ball's anime, Toriyama specified the voice for only one character, Krillin. He'd watched Night on the Galactic Railroad and thought Mayumi Tanaka's performance was especially good, requesting her specifically for the role. Tanaka is now most famous for voicing Luffy in One Piece, but her connection to Dragon Ball came first, chosen personally by the series creator. Toribot serves as Toriyama's avatar when representing himself in manga. The character appears in Dr. Slump, Dragon Ball, even Blue Dragon, and is said to be the ruler of the Dragon Ball multiverse, though this is clearly just humorous claim rather than serious lore. Before Toribot, Toriyama used birds as his avatar since Tori means bird in Japanese. Though the Kamehameha wave was created by Master Roshi in universe over 50 years of training, the most iconic blast attack in anime was actually named by Toriyama's wife Nachi Mikami. She named it after King Kamehameha of Hawaii when Toriyama struggled with what to call the technique. He'd been trying various poses before settling on the iconic hands cupped at side stance. The name stuck, and now Kamehameha is among the most recognized words from anime worldwide. Minoru Maeda served as lead animator and character designer for Dragon Ball from the anime's beginning through the Cell saga. He oversaw production and defined the look for early Dragon Ball, having also worked on all of Dr. Slump prior. He began as key animator for the test pilot of Dr. Slump working for Studio Junior. His style was known for roundness, which fit Toriyama's early art but became less compatible as Toriyama drew more angularly in later years. He likely left due to this stylistic divergence. Maeda had great admiration for Toriyama, especially his early art style. He created illustrated side stories, promotional illustrations, covers, and much more beyond just animation work. His contributions shaped how an entire generation perceived Dragon Ball visually, even though his style differs from what most people now associate with the series. Tadayoshi Yamamuro became the most recognizable Dragon Ball animator and character designer for modern Dragon Ball. He took over character design following the Cell games alongside Katsuyoshi Nakatsuru, and Yamamuro's style probably defined what the series looked like more than any other artist besides Toriyama himself. However, he fell out of favor around Battle of Gods, as fans and critics noted his character designs made animation stiff, and characters sometimes appeared ugly with unnecessary extra glow and shading. Many fans began criticizing Yamamuro's work, and he was replaced by Naohiro Shintani for Dragon Ball Super Broly. He still works in Dragon Ball through Heroes and other projects, but his role as primary character designer ended, marking the end of an era. Katsuyoshi Nakatsuru was main character designer, alongside Yamamuro from the Buu saga through GT's conclusion. He's perhaps most famous for being the man behind Super Saiyan 4 and possesses a unique art style that looks similar to Toriyama's, but with his own distinctive flair. Toriyama himself has praised Nakatsuru's style, recognizing how well he captured the essence while adding personal touches. Nakatsuru served as animation supervisor for the Bardock special and designed many characters personally. He remains a favorite among fans, with many considering him the best Dragon Ball artist besides Toriyama himself. He later worked on Cashman and The Brief Return of Dr. Slump, continuing to collaborate on Toriyama properties. Naohiro Shintani became Dragon Ball's newest major character designer when an audition was held during Dragon Ball Super Broly's production to find the next animation supervisor defining the film's look. Shintani, who'd previously worked on Dragon Ball in the 2008 Jump special, won the position. Toriyama praised his style, which brought fresh energy after years of criticism toward the Super anime's visuals. Shintani brought bounciness and sense of speed and fluidity rarely seen in modern Dragon Ball. his animation made movements feel alive and dynamic in ways that recalled the original anime's best moments. Many fans hope for his return in the next Dragon Ball animation project, believing he successfully modernized the series' visual language. A fan theory asks about universes Xeno supposedly destroyed before the series began. With Android 17's wish bringing back universes eliminated during the Tournament of Power, could the previously destroyed universes have been restored as well? This opens possibilities for future stories exploring what existed before, what new characters might emerge from restored universes, what threats might have been erased for good reason. Beat is described as a descendant of Goku in Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission, confirmed as part Saiyan Earthling. He's the avatar and protagonist of Dragon Ball Heroes games, a boy from the real world who gets transported into the Dragon Ball Heroes universe by playing the arcade game. His adventures with Goku and others formed the core of Heroes' various stories across different media. The revelation that Beat shares Goku's bloodline adds interesting context to his role as player surrogate. He's not just random fan inserted into Dragon Ball, but actually related to its protagonist, making his presence feel more organic to the universe even in this wildly meta setup. Dragon Ball SD, written and drawn by Naho Ishii, is a comedic manga retelling Dragon Ball's story that began in 2010 and continues publishing in Saikyo Jump. It's aimed at kids and isn't officially available in English, but it's quite funny, despite or because of its younger target audience. The manga takes creative liberties with events, adding jokes and changing situations while following the basic story beats. Though aimed at children, Dragon Ball SD has charm that works for adult fans too. It treats the source material with affection while not taking anything too seriously, finding humor in situations that were originally dramatic or tense. Fans often joke that Toriyama forgot about Launch, the character who split into two personalities when she sneezed. This isn't quite accurate. Launch was included in a short manga during the Frieza saga, showing what other Z fighters were doing during Christmas. Later, she was supposed to appear during the Spirit Bomb scene in the Buu saga, but was ultimately replaced by Android 17 in the final version. In the anime version of that scene, Launch does appear giving energy from a truck, so she wasn't completely forgotten. Toriyama has admitted he sometimes loses track of minor characters as the series continues, but Launch received more attention than fans sometimes claim. A special Xenoverse 2 manga was created by Toyotaro as part of the game's collector's edition. This very short manga introduces the hero to Cotton City before a time rift pulls the Time Patroller into encounter with Goku and Ace, the hero from the first Xenoverse game, to defeat Cooler and Frieza. It served as promotional material connecting Toyotaro's manga work to the game's story. A special video created to promote Dragon Ball Super Broly was shown at Tokyo Skytree. In it, Goku flies up to the window wondering if the tower is taller than Korin Tower. He has the Dragon Balls but gets called to King Kai's planet. When Goku leaves, Frieza appears to make his own wish with Shenron granting it. Goku returns transformed to Super Saiyan Blue, and he clashes with Golden Frieza in short but cute promotional clip. Jackie Chan and his films have greatly influenced Dragon Ball and Akira Toriyama. For the 1986 film My Lucky Stars, Jackie Chan met with Toriyama, and the film features a sequence where Chan dresses as a rally and battles at a theme park. Jackie Chan is noted Dragon Ball and Dr. Slump fan, and the series was huge in Hong Kong. For the 22nd Birdland Press publication, Toriyama and Chan did interview together with photos, and Toriyama gifted Chan a drawing of him. This connection between Kung Fu cinema and Dragon Ball runs deep. Toriyama cited Jackie Chan's films as major influence on how he depicted martial arts and action sequences, bringing cinema's kinetic energy into manga form. Fan-made power levels were much more prominent in early to mid-2000s internet culture. Videos and websites provided elaborate power scaling for moments after the Frieza saga, where official numbers didn't exist. Fans calculated what characters' power levels must be based on feats and comparisons, creating elaborate hierarchies that sparked endless debates. These fan calculations still stir discussions today, though most fans now recognize that power levels became meaningless after Frieza Saga, with Toriyama himself abandoning the concept because it limited storytelling possibilities. The full-color manga release of Dragon Ball included Q&A sections with Toriyama that revealed many previously unknown details. He explained that Android 17 and 18's real names are Lapis and Lazuli, named after the gem lapis lazuli, which matches their eyes' color. 17 is married to a zoologist with one biological child and two adopted children. Androids don't need to eat but require water and can become stronger through training. These revelations informed Android 17's role in Dragon Ball Super, where his family life and continued training explained how he'd become powerful enough to compete in the Tournament of Power. What seemed like random trivia became foundation for character development years later. Dr. Gero created all weapons used by the Red Ribbon Army and designed androids so they couldn't be used by enemies, unlike traditional weaponry. Android 16's model was based on Gevo, Gero's son who died in war. Android 19's model came from a doll seized as war trophy from enemy base. These details added tragedy and history to characters who'd seemed like simple villains. The fusion part of the fusion dance is extremely important for syncing minds, but once you've mastered it, simple ha suffices to complete the fusion. Beings of different sizes and power levels can theoretically fuse, but it's extremely difficult, requiring perfect synchronization. Many types of fusions exist beyond what we've seen. The specific fusion Goku learned from Metamorans was designed specifically to increase power, but other cultures might have fusion techniques serving different purposes. Majin Buu's origin underwent revision through Toriyama's later explanations. While anime and manga present Bibidi as Buu's creator, Toriyama revealed in 2014 Saikyo Jump Q&A that Buu was actually born in time immemorial. Bibidi merely knew the spell to awaken Buu from hibernation. The spell to summon him is written in unpronounceable characters, suggesting it predates normal language. Buu doesn't need to eat, he just likes candy. His pure evil nature meant that when his soul was cleaned for reincarnation into Oob, the process was instantaneous. Even so, in Kakarot's side story, the purification takes a bit longer, allowing Goku to fight evil Buu one more time. Mr. Satan's origin came through the same interview. He grew up training at Satan Castle Dojo, where he was a decent fighter but luck carried him far. His opponents often suffered food poisoning or other problems. He became world champion and took his dojo's name as his ring name. His real name is Mark, or Maku in Japanese, Hapano Nakuma meaning demon. His master was killed at a bar in South City after people mocked Tao Pai Pai's haircut. From then on, Mr. Satan promised never to fight anyone whose identity he didn't know or who he knew he couldn't beat. He married a singer named Miguel, her name contrasting with Satan as it comes from the Archangel Michael. Videl's name is anagram of devil, continuing the pattern. The Big Green dub, made by AB Group, dubbed early Dragon Ball movies and specials up to movie 9. It's known for strange dialogue, peculiar voice acting, and various odd changes. Perhaps most famously, it refers to Piccolo as Big Green rather than by name. It's become cult favorite among fans who appreciate its bizarre qualities. Super Saiyan 4 first appeared in December 1996 in Japanese Card Das magazine created for Dragon Ball GT, a month before appearing in the anime. Designed by Katsuyoshi Nakatsuru, Super Saiyan 4 was initially colored gray in the magazine rather than the crimson fur that became standard. Nakatsuru drew inspiration from Kabuki Rajishi actors, visible in the red eyeliner around the eyes. Dragon Ball Z Atsumari, Goku's World, a 1992 Terabiko game called Gathered Together. Goku's World came out as VHS-based game where players used phone controllers to answer questions and command characters. It takes place as Cell waits for Cell games. Younger Gohan appears as Goku, Trunks, Krillin, Gohan, and Bulma travel back reliving series events, with Goku even interacting with Kid Goku. Eventually, Goku confronts Cell and forces him to flee. Many mangaka have drawn Dragon Ball for special occasions. The 30th anniversary history book included artwork by Murata, Kubo, Togashi, and many others. Similarly, the 40th anniversary Super Gallery features cover pages redrawn by prominent manga artists. 19 different covers had been created at the time of this script, showing how Dragon Ball inspires creators across the industry to pay tribute. In Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 3, Naruto has alternate Kame outfit complete with power pole and Kamehameha-like Rasengan. In Dragon Ball Battle of Z, Goku has Naruto's Sage Mode outfit and charges ki using ninja hand signs. These costumes are based on art by Akira Toriyama and Masashi Kishimoto from the Naruto Secret Scroll fanbook. Kishimoto has drawn Toriyama-related art multiple times, showing mutual respect between creators. Heart, also called the God Eater, is one of the main antagonists of Dragon Ball heroes. Little is known about him definitively, but he hates the gods and wants to kill them all to create a new universe without divine beings. He teams up with various villains and even allies with Goku temporarily. He's voiced by Takehito Koyasu, the voice of Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in Japanese, bringing appropriate dramatic flair to the role. Irwin Toys repackaged figures from different toy lines like AB Group and Bandai for Western markets. Bizarrely, many came with guns even though the figures often couldn't hold them. Cell and Buu Saga figures released before the dub reached those sections, spoiling major plot points for many people. This isn't the only instance of Goku with guns. He finds one in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and he now appears in Fortnite where firearms are standard equipment. The image of Goku wielding a gun has become a meme representing the absurdity of Western toy marketing in the 90s, when action figures needed weapons regardless of whether the character used them in their source material. Rumors about where Toriyama intended to end Dragon Ball have circulated for years, most of them inaccurate. He did plan for the story to end within a year, concluding when the Dragon Ball hunt was over. What changed isn't exactly clear, but the series' popularity obviously influenced decisions to continue. Another possible endpoint was the King Piccolo arc, though Toriyama stated in Volume 12's Q&A he had no intentions to end there. He did threaten ending the series in protest to his editor, but this was about making Goku an adult. He said he wouldn't continue unless allowed to age up his protagonist. The Frieza saga seems natural ending since Goku dies defeating the universe's emperor, but a 1991 interview in Jump Gold Selection Dragon Ball Z Anime Special 2 had Toriyama saying it was strange that even after doing so much Dragon Ball, he didn't want to end it yet. This was published before Goku turned Super Saiyan, proving he didn't intend to end at Frieza's defeat. The Cell saga seems like obvious ending since Goku dies and Gohan becomes the hero. The revelation that Gohan was meant to become the protagonist came from Daisen Shu 2, but Toriyama never said the series was meant to end there. He simply realized Gohan wasn't suited for the role, requiring Goku's return. Whether Toriyama wanted to end but couldn't due to editorial pressure, or whether he genuinely wanted to continue, remains unclear. But the series concluded with the Buu saga on Toriyama's own terms. So many Dragon Ball Heroes manga exist that listing them all requires careful organization. Victory Mission, running from 2012 to 2014 on V-Jump and drawn by Toyotaro, focused on Beat and his adventures in the Dragon World. It mixed episodic and serialized chapters featuring Janemba, Baby, and other villains from the arcade game. Extra chapters promoted Battle of Gods, adult Gotenks, and more, even including special stories about Majin Buu and Nekomajin. Charisma Mission ran on and off from 2013 to 2020 in Saikyo Jump, drawn by Yoshitaka Nagayama. It focused on three young players experiencing the game's mechanics. Nagayama also drew the following four manga series, which more or less form the main hero's narrative the anime loosely adapts. Dark Demon Realm Mission tells how Trunks became Time Patrol Trunks after defeating Cell, recruited by the Kaioshin of Time. He joins Xenogoku, Vegeta, Gohan, and Goten, facing Mira, Towa, and other members of the Dark Demon Realm and Time Breakers. Universe Mission ran concurrent with Dark Demon Realm. The Xeno heroes team up with Dragon Ball superheroes on the prison planet, lured there by Fu. They faced the core area warriors led by Hearts. It was collected into two volumes, Prison Planet and Universe Seed. Big Bang Mission continues the story as Fu plans using the Universe Tree. God Trunks is introduced. This directly leads into Ultra God Mission, the current Dragon Ball Heroes manga following Big Bang Mission. Characters from different timelines compete in a space-time tournament, with Aios, the previous Kaioshin of Time, appearing. Since it's ongoing, many questions remain unanswered. Finally, Avatars is drawn by Yuji Kasai, set in the real world, focusing on alternate versions of Beat and Note from Victory Mission and the arcade game exploring their own adventures. Super Dragon Ball Heroes anime serves as promotional anime with surprisingly good music and sometimes impressive animation despite short episode lengths. It loosely follows some manga events, compressing and rearranging story beats. It's whatever, really, serviceable Dragon Ball content that keeps the franchise alive between major releases. Super Majin Titima appears as a master in Dragon Ball Online's Koran lands. She's often incorrectly cited as being Majin Buu's wife or Ms. Buu. This stems from mistakes in early Taiwanese Dragon Ball Online guidebook, where she was mislabeled. She is actually unrelated character, not Majin Buu's wife. This leads to Bob and Margaret, however. According to Korean Dragon Ball Online timeline, in age 790, Majin Buu finds a book called Bob and Margaret, one of Mr. Satan's dirty books. Majin Buu wants someone to love, so he splits himself, creating Ms. Buu. Together, they read Bob and Margaret figuring out how to have children, ultimately using the love beam to give birth to Baby Buu and many others. The Majin race grows from there, forming communities across Earth by Dragon Ball Online's time period. Coincidentally, Bob and Margaret is also the book Master Roshi uses to teach Goku and Krillin how to read. In Xenoverse 2, it's renamed Bob and Margaret's Forbidden Games, making the adult content more explicit. The Cybermen, those green creatures Nappa and Vegeta used to test the Z-Fighters, have origin that fans often don't know. While much Saiyan technology was stolen from conquered races, Toriyama revealed in Daisen Shu 7 that a Saiyan scientist actually created Cybermen using biotechnology. They facilitated conquests and aided training, with young Vegeta shown destroying groups of them during his own development. This raises questions about what other biotech the same scientist might have created, whether upgraded Cybermen were ever produced. Dragon Ball Fusions, though non-canon, introduces Cyber King, a fusion of multiple Cybermen intelligent enough to speak. The concept suggests that Cybermen's creation represented sophisticated biological engineering rather than simple cloning. These disposable warriors served the Saiyans well, cheap to produce and effective for measuring opponents' strength. Despite Super Saiyan transformations feeling rare and special initially, they became increasingly common as the series progressed. Goten and Trunks achieved the form as children with minimal effort, while Universe 6's Saiyans, Kaba, Kale, and Caulifla, learned it after simple explanations from Universe 7 warriors. Toriyama's S-Cells concept from January 2018, Saikyo Jump explains this apparent inconsistency. All Saiyans possess S-Cells that increase with higher power levels and gentler spirits. Universe 6, Saiyans likely have higher base S-Cell counts due to their universe's gentler nature compared to Universe 7's brutal planet Vegeta. This biological explanation attempted rationalizing why transformations, once considered legendary, became routine, why hybrid Saiyans like Gohan achieved Super Saiyan more easily than pure-blooded warriors. Krillin's nose, or lack thereof, created a humorous contradiction within Dragon Ball. During his fight with Bacterian, Krillin claims victory because he lacks a nose and therefore can't smell his opponent's terrible odor. Yet in later scenes, Krillin appears to sniff and detect smells, creating a apparent plot hole. Toriyama addressed this inconsistency in later interviews, though his explanation basically allows Krillin to have things both ways, noseless for comedy purposes, yet capable of smelling when convenient. These small inconsistencies appear throughout Dragon Ball, products of weekly manga creation where details from hundreds of chapters ago might slip from mind. Toriyama has always been honest about forgetting aspects of his own series, treating Dragon Ball as evolving work rather than rigidly planned epic. Mr. Satan, despite polarizing fans with his boastful attitude lacking skills to match, has become quite popular over the years. Toriyama has always shown affinity for the character, giving him increasingly important roles as Dragon Ball continued. The champion received special modes in video games, featured prominently in the Buu Saga's resolution, and represents something Dragon Ball often needs: humor and humanity amid cosmic battles. Canon in Dragon Ball has always been a complicated topic, more so after the Tokyo Skytree and Viz North America Tour's History of Dragon Ball exhibit confirmed that only Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Super manga, plus revival of F, Jocko the Galactic Patrolman, and Dragon Ball Minus, are considered canon to Toriyama's franchise. The anime adaptations, Dragon Ball Z, Kai, and Super, depict canon content, but also include filler falling outside strict canon boundaries. Dragon Ball GT, despite being treated as sequel, is not an official sequel to Toriyama's manga. Toriyama's involvement was minimal. He created the title, designed main cast and vehicles, drew some pictures. The series was excluded from the History of Dragon Ball exhibit, cementing its non-canon status despite nostalgic value for many fans. Reference books like the Daizen Shu series expand on content the manga doesn't fully explain, but most have little involvement from Toriyama himself. He's stated clearly over the years that he defines Dragon Ball canon in relation to his original manga. On the Dragon Ball Z movies, Toriyama stated his limited involvement, while for Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, he confirmed much deeper creative control. The Dragon Ball Super manga is canon despite Toriyama being responsible only for story and character designs, with Toyotaro handling artwork. This was confirmed by Toei Animation and Shueisha Publishing in November 2018. The situation creates interesting questions about authorship and ownership. Is something canon because the original creator approved it, or does it require their direct participation? Akira Toriyama was born in Kiyosu, Aichi Prefecture, Japan, with a younger sister. He drew pictures since young age, mainly animals and vehicles he was fond of, and remembered being blown away after seeing 101 Dalmatians in 1961, drawn deeper into illustration, hoping to create pictures that good. Toriyama founded Bird Studio in the early 80s, the name playing on Tori meaning bird in Japanese. An official fan club, Akira Toriyama Hozonkai, or Akira Toriyama Preservation Society, was established in 1982, with newsletters called Birdland Press sent to members until the club closed in 1987. Before Dragon Ball, Toriyama created Dragon Boy as two-part manga, published in August and October 1983 issues of Fresh Jump, following a boy adept at martial arts who escorts a princess on journey back to her home country. Dragon Boy was well received and evolved into Dragon Ball in 1984. Before that, The Adventure of Tongpu, published in Weekly Shonen Jump's 52nd issue of 1983, also contained elements that would appear in Dragon Ball. On March 27, 2013, Akira Toriyama The World of Dragon Ball exhibit opened at Takashimaya Department Store in Nihonbashi. garnering 72,000 visitors in its first 19 days. The exhibit was separated into 7 areas showing series history, 400 plus characters, manga manuscripts from memorable scenes, special color illustrations, rare materials, and design sketches. Toriyama created new story arc for the 2024 Sandland original net animation adaptation. His final contribution to Dragon Ball was directing Toyotaro to redraw the end of Chapter 103 of Dragon Ball Super so that departing Piccolo appears to wave back at the reader. A short tribute was included at the page bottom when published on March 28, 2024. Toribot, Toriyama's avatar character, appears as the ultimate ruler of the Dragon Ball world, therefore greater than Zeno, making frequent appearances in Dr. Slump, where he's resident of Penguin Village, living in small house on hill, where he spends time drawing chapters, making models, and receiving rejection notices from his editor. Before using Toribot, Toriyama drew himself as anthropomorphic bird called Tori. The character appears in various forms, robot, human, or bird, but seems to prefer robotic look. Several Dr. Slump characters resemble Toribot, including a Fly Milk Gang member and Miss Akiko. Toribot is the only Dr. Slump character appearing in Dragon Ball GT, and also makes appearance in Blue Dragon, where Toriyama was responsible for art design. Toriyama's relationship with success wasn't always smooth. He originally worked doing illustrations for design company and lettering work, but didn't enjoy it and ultimately quit. He started drawing manga on his 23rd birthday, initially planning on being gag manga artist, which shows in his comedic dialogue and signature humor. His editor suggested trying battle manga, and despite initial reluctance, he gave it a shot, changing shonen anime forever. While having passion for manga, Toriyama's initial goals weren't quite pure. He only decided trying manga because he needed money after quitting his job in his 20s. Fortunately, he had more than enough talent to succeed. Success rarely comes easily, and Toriyama saw significant rejection early in his career. He had numerous pieces rejected by various publications, mainly because his work wasn't always well suited to manga given his design background. Toriyama's work extended beyond manga into video game design. His art design for the Dragon Quest series and Chrono Trigger is arguably as influential as Dragon Ball. Dragon Quest is now seen as pioneer for console RPG gaming, partly due to art and character designs Toriyama contributed. His time as game designer resulted in creating perhaps the most iconic of all RPG enemies, the slime. Dragon Ball's influence on other media is extensive. As martial arts-based anime, Dragon Ball has clear influences from popular figures like Bruce Lee. Many have pointed out how Goku's Ultra Instinct form connects directly to Bruce Lee's own combat philosophy about moving without thinking, achieving perfect response through instinct rather than conscious decision. Toriyama married shoujo manga artist Nachi Mikami in 1982. They have 2 children, a son named Sasuke born April 1987 and a daughter born late 1990. Toriyama is shy and reserved person who dislikes interviews. His manga, including all 42 volumes of Dragon Ball, contain cover flap images referencing Toriyama's real life, mainly through these autobiographical elements that more can be learned about him. Toriyama has always been concerned about his work, not hesitating to redraw the same illustration repeatedly because he doesn't find it perfect. He passed many sleepless nights working, often complaining of lack of free time. Paradoxically, he hates dwelling on illustrations, wanting to finish in one draw as soon as possible to quickly judge the result. He prefers living in quieter rural areas where he can devote himself to both work and family, rather than big cities. Scale model assembly is one of his biggest hobbies. He possesses dozens of models, often surprising himself assembling models instead of working. Toriyama loves animals and has raised many. During Dr. Slump, he owned 2 dogs named Turbo and Turbo 2, a cat named Ohiru, and many birds. During Dragon Ball, he owned a Siberian husky named Matoroshiku, a black cat called Kogi, and a Welsh corgi dog named Toma. From Dr. Slump onward, Toriyama wanted independence and founded Bird Studio in 1983. That same year, he created Dragon Boy and the Adventures of Tongpu as prototypes for Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball was one of the linchpins for what's accepted as the golden age of Jump. Success encouraged Toriyama continuing the series from 1984 to 1995. During that 11-year period, he made 519 chapters collected into 42 tankobon volumes. Each volume averages 200 pages, so entire Dragon Ball storyline extends to almost 9,000 pages. Toriyama had 3 editors for Dragon Ball: Kazuhiko Torishima, who worked on Dr. Slump and Dragon Ball's first half, Yu Kondo involved during the series' most popular times, and Fuyuto Takeda, who took over during the Perfect Cell and Buu sagas. Toriyama had only 2 assistants during his career: Hisashi Tanaka, who worked on Dr. Slump's first half, and Takashi Matsuyama, who assisted on Dr. Slump's second half, all of Dragon Ball and post-Dragon Ball works. Dragon Ball's benefit quickly led to 3 animated television series by Toei Animation: Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball GT, plus feature-length movies and video games. Unlike Dragon Ball and Z, GT wasn't based on Toriyama's manga, but created by Toei as sequel. As original creator, Toriyama attended production meetings providing input on series progression, giving thoughts on expanding original material, and providing character designs and sketches for filler and movie characters. Dragon Ball's manga version contains details anime adaptations changed. Piccolo has 4 fingers in manga, while sporting 5 in anime. Majin Buu's hands in manga are mitten-like with essentially 2 fingers, but anime gives him full 5-fingered hands. These differences might seem minor, but represent how adaptations interpret source material through their own lenses. The Kanzenban perfect release of Dragon Ball manga saw Toriyama making alterations to the ending. He added pages to Kid Buu fight, making conclusion more complete. The biggest changes involve added scenes with Uub and Goku's departure. Goku gives Uub the flying nimbus in new pages, and Toriyama's message to readers changed to Vegeta promising himself he'd one day overcome Kakarot. The narration changed from world being safe thanks to Dragon Balls to being safe because of strong people. Subtle but meaningful shift in emphasis. Opinions vary on whether Toriyama's original message or Vegeta's internal monologue works better as series finale, but most fans prefer Kanzenban version for additional polish. Dragon Ball Super's relationship to the original manga remains complex. The anime and manga both carry Dragon Ball Super name, but diverged significantly, particularly after the Universe 6 tournament. Early on, changes weren't too consequential. The tournament retained same fights with same participants, but different details. Buu failed a test. Instead of falling asleep, Frost was more sinister. Hit couldn't keep up with Super Saiyan Blue, and the Blue form itself had stamina-draining issues in manga version. The manga skipped Resurrection F initially, so it could tackle Universe 6 tournament while anime did retellings, but skipping Broly's story later felt like mistake. The Universe Survival Arc's end is now jammed with Moro Arc's start, with bizarre 2-page spread alluding to Broly happening. Yako shows a sketch he drew of Frieza, referencing events we never saw in manga continuity, though the manga jarringly skips Resurrection F in Super's ongoing story. Solid reason exists beyond wanting to plow ahead to new content. Toyotaro already drew a Resurrection F manga. It only goes up to Goku and Frieza's fight, cutting before Goku turns Super Saiyan Blue, but it's surprisingly good. The manga does better job telling Resurrection F's early story than either anime or movie versions. You can watch Dragon Ball Z and immediately dive into Dragon Ball Super without missing beats. But Dragon Ball Z's last episode transitions into Dragon Ball GT. The original broadcast featured next episode preview for GT's first episode, much like how Dragon Ball's finale previewed DBZ, ensuring viewers this was natural continuation in anime continuity. Dragon Ball GT is poorly paced in places but very much feels like evolution of the style and tone Dragon Ball Z adaptation had by its run's end. Dragon Ball Super has similar relationship with Kai, with the former premiering as latter completed its Buu arc airing in Japan. With Super anime established as sequel to Kai specifically, it might be safe assuming Dragon Ball Super manga is sequel to Dragon Ball manga specifically. Dragon Ball's production history includes various special events and promotional materials that expanded the universe in unexpected ways. The series has always existed in multiple forms simultaneously: manga, anime, movies, games, guidebooks, each offering slightly different version of the same basic story. This multiplicity creates rich tapestry where different interpretations coexist, where fans can choose which version resonates most with them. The franchise's willingness to embrace multiple continuities rather than rigidly enforcing single canon has allowed Dragon Ball to remain flexible and responsive to changing tastes. What works in manga might not work in anime. What succeeds in Japan might need adjustment for international markets. By allowing these variations, Dragon Ball has maintained relevance across decades and cultures. Toriyama's involvement varied across these different media, sometimes deeply engaged and sometimes offering minimal guidance. His willingness to let others interpret his work while maintaining oversight through character designs and basic story approval created collaborative creative process. Dragon Ball became larger than any single creator could manage, requiring teams of animators, voice actors, game developers, and other artists to bring it to life. This collaborative nature means Dragon Ball's legacy includes work by hundreds of creators beyond Toriyama himself. Voice actors who defined characters through their performances, animators who brought static panels to fluid motion, composers who created music inseparable from the series' emotional beats. All of them contributed to what Dragon Ball became in collective imagination. The franchise's international success, particularly in Latin America and the United States, created feedback loops where foreign fan enthusiasm influenced Japanese production decisions. The Latin American chanting during Tournament of Power inspired the Broly movie's soundtrack. Western demand for Budokai Tenkaichi 4 eventually led to Sparking Zero's announcement. Dragon Ball became truly global phenomenon, shaped by fans worldwide rather than remaining purely Japanese creation. This global reach means Dragon Ball exists differently for different audiences. Japanese fans who grew up with weekly manga chapters in Shonen Jump experienced it differently from American fans who discovered heavily edited dubs on afternoon television, who experienced it differently from Latin American fans watching original Spanish dubs in theaters. Each version is valid. Each represents genuine Dragon Ball experience even if details differ. The meme culture surrounding Dragon Ball shows how the series transcends its source material, becoming part of shared cultural language. Its over 9,000 means something even to people who've never watched the show. Images of Goku powering up represent determination and effort across countless contexts having nothing to do with anime. The franchise's visual language, the spiky hair, the energy auras, the dramatic stances became shorthand for heroic transformation. Video games allowed fans to participate in Dragon Ball rather than passively consuming it. Games let players become Goku, experience the story from different perspectives, create what-if scenarios, explore possibilities the official media never touched. This interactive dimension added new layer to Dragon Ball's cultural presence, making it personal in ways watching anime or reading manga couldn't quite achieve. The merchandising empire surrounding Dragon Ball created physical manifestation of fandom. Action figures let children recreate battles, clothing let fans display their affiliation, collectibles turned bedrooms into Dragon Ball shrines. This material culture reinforced the series' presence in daily life, making it more than entertainment consumed and forgotten, but rather ongoing relationship with fictional universe. Dragon Ball's influence on subsequent anime and manga can't be overstated. Nearly every battle shonen that followed owes something to Toriyama's work. The tournament arc structure, the escalating power levels, the training montages, the rival who becomes ally, the transformation as metaphor for character growth. These elements became genre staples because Dragon Ball used them so effectively. Creators like Masashi Kishimoto of Naruto, Eiichiro Oda of One Piece, Tite Kubo of Bleach, and countless others cite Dragon Ball as formative influence. They grew up reading Toriyama's work, absorbed its lessons, and applied them to their own series. This created lineage of storytelling passing from one generation to the next, with Dragon Ball as foundation on which modern shonen manga builds. The franchise's longevity is remarkable considering how many series fade after concluding. Dragon Ball ended in 1995 yet remains vital in 2026, still producing new content, still attracting new fans. This endurance speaks to something fundamental in Toriyama's creation, characters and situations that resonate across cultural and temporal boundaries, stories that feel fresh despite being decades old. Part of this timeless quality comes from Dragon Ball's simplicity at its core. It's about a good-hearted warrior who loves fighting and always strives to become stronger. This premise is universal, requiring no complex mythology to understand, no prior knowledge to appreciate. You can start anywhere in Dragon Ball and quickly grasp what's happening, who these characters are, what stakes exist. Yet beneath that simplicity lies surprising depth. The series explores themes of identity, of overcoming one's nature, of friendship transcending differences, of sacrifice for those you love. These themes emerge organically from the story rather than being didactically stated, giving Dragon Ball emotional resonance beyond its surface-level action spectacle. The character relationships, particularly between Goku and his rivals, form the series' emotional core. Goku's rivalry with Vegeta spans decades, evolving from murderous hatred to respectful competition to genuine friendship. Their relationship provides narrative backbone across multiple arcs, with each major story somehow involving their dynamic. Similarly, Goku's relationships with his sons explore fatherhood in unconventional ways. He's often absent, prioritizing training over family, yet his sons idolize him and strive to earn his respect. This complicated family dynamic adds texture to what could have been simple heroic narrative, making Goku flawed and human despite his godlike power. Rest now, knowing that somewhere in the world, someone is discovering Dragon Ball for the first time. A child is watching Goku fight Frieza on Namek, their eyes wide with wonder. A teenager is reading about Gohan's transformation against Cell, feeling that same rush of triumph. An adult is introducing their own children to the series, passing forward the gift they received years ago. The adventure continues, the legacy grows, and Toriyama's creation lives on. Thank you for joining me in exploring these layers of Dragon Ball history and mystery. If these stories brought you peace tonight, another video waits on your left, ready to carry you deeper into rest. Let it play quietly beside you. You may fall asleep while the next journey unfolds.